Hello dears. Today's class is about relevant investigations for assessing the status of renal system in patients with spinal cord injuries. First, we can have an overview of investigations. There are investigations which detects abnormalities of upper tract functions. There are certain other investigations which detect the abnormalities of lower urinary tract functions. In spinal cord injuries, we have investigations of both upper tracts and lower tracts. We have to assess the general condition of the patient, any infections, any lower tract or upper tract changes, any calculus formation, any stricture, fistula, etc. Sometimes we may have to repeat the above test whenever there is need, like in urinary tract infections, incontinence, obstruction, etc. Now, moving to diagnostic tests commonly prescribed are blood tests, urine analysis, urine culture and sensitivity, ultrasound kidney ureter bladder, urodynamics and electromyography, cystoscopy, IVP, CT, and MRI. The blood tests commonly prescribed are CBC-ESR to assess the general condition of the patient, like hemoglobin, total count, ESR, etc. For assessing the glycemic status, we have to do fasting blood sugar, postprandial blood sugar, and sometimes we may need to do HbA1c also. For assessing the renal functions, we have to do blood urea and serum creatine. For assessing the liver function test, we have liver function test is usually done to assess the proteins and other factors. Fasting lipid profile and serum electrolytes are also should be done. Moving to urine analysis, in male patients, midstream sample is to be taken. There are 4 types of samples like VB1, VB2, EPS and VB3. VB1 means it is the initial 5 to 10 ml of urine voided, whereas VB2 is the midstream urine. EPS means expressed prostatic secretions. That means secretions obtained after gentle prostatic massage. And VB3 is the initial 2 to 3 ml of urine obtained after prostatic massage. Value of culture is VB1 sample represents urethral flora, VB2 bladder flora, and EPS and VB3 represents the prostatic flora. In females, it is difficult to get clean catch midstream sample, so it is better to have a catheterized sample if there is severe suspected urinary tract infections. In case of neonates and infants, the sample collected should be examined within 1 hour. Moving to physical examination, we can see that the normal color of urine is pale yellow. If it is colorless, then it is very dilute urine. Sometimes the urine may appear as cloudy or milky, and it is pyuria or phosphaturia. If the color is red, then it indicates hematuria, hemoglobinuria, or it may follow rifampicin use. If the color of the urine is orange, then it indicates dehydration. If it is yellow, it is maybe normal or it may be due to riboflavin use. If the color is brown, then it is porphyria or urobilinogen, and if it is brown black, then it indicates alkapnuria and hemorrhage. Turbidity of urine, as already said, that it is due to phosphaturia or pyuria. Specific gravity of urine usually will be 1.001 to 1.035. It indicates the dehydration level. So osmolality is usually 50 to 1200 milliosmol per liter. pH of urine is between 5.5 to 6.5. If it is 4.5 to 5.5, it is acidic. And if it is more than 6.5, that is 6.5 to 8, then it is alkaline. Now moving to chemical examination. Urine dipsticks are used to detect abnormal substances like blood, protein, glucose, ketones, urobilinogen, bilirubin, WBCs, etc. Urine sediment estimation. For this, we have to examine the urine within 1 hour, morning specimen. And in microscopy, we will look for cells, casts, crystals, bacteria, yeast, parasites. Now moving to urine culture. To detect it is used to detect the presence of pathogenic organisms in the urine, and we have to prescribe appropriate antibiotics depending upon the culture report. Usually done routinely, and if needed, we have to repeat the test when there is infection. If the level of the organism is more than 10 raised to 5, it indicates urinary tract infections. The common organisms seen are E. coli, Pseudomonas, Klebsiella, Proteus, etc. If no clinical improvement is seen within 48 hours after the antibiotic use, then we have to repeat the culture and sensitivity test. We have to also differentiate true urinary tract infection from bacterial colonization. For true urinary tract infection, there are 3 criteria. First one is there should be presence of bacteria in urine. Second one is there should be increase in white blood cells in the urine or pyuria. And third is there should be a new onset of signs and symptoms like cloudy urine, dysuria, frequency, urinary incontinence, hematuria, high fever with chills, increased spasticity, weakness, autonomic dysreflexia, etc. Now moving to ultrasound kidney ureter bladder. Advantages are it is non-invasive, easily available, and it is of low cost. It shows anatomy of kidney, ureter, and bladder. In spinal cord injuries, we can look the bladder capacity, wall thickness, trabeculations, saculations, vesico-ureteric reflux, hydroureter, hydronephrosis, calculi. Now moving to urodynamics and surface EMG, we can look into urodynamics in detail because the classification and treatment principles is based on urodynamic data also. First, we can have an overview. So, what is urodynamics? Urodynamics, the name itself, there is a euro and there is dynamic. It's a dynamic study. We are filling the bladder with normal saline and asking the person to void urine when it is full. So we are artificially creating a filling phase and a voiding phase of micturition. Here we can assess the volume pressure relationship, the volume of urine voided. Thereby we can assess the capacity of the bladder. The voiding stream can be assessed by uroflowmetry. Voiding diaries are there. Detrusor external sphincter dysynergia can be assessed by using surface EMG, etc. First, we can look into what are the indications. Indications are first to diagnose the underlying cause of lower urinary tract dysfunctions. Second is to characterize the lower urinary tract dysfunctions. Third is we can formulate treatment strategies based on urodynamic data, and we can improve the therapeutic outcomes, and finally we can educate the people regarding their condition. Going to contraindication. The absolute contraindication for urinary tract infection, urodynamics is urinary tract infection. Other indications are bleeding of indeterminate origin, bad general condition, etc. These are the commonly used urodynamic procedures. It starts from simple to complex. Simple one, voiding diaries, micturition time chart, bladder diary, pad testing, uroflowmetry, and pressure flow studies like cystometry, video urodynamics, ambulatory urodynamics, and complex investigations like urethral pressure profile and upper tract urodynamics. Now, moving to bladder voiding diaries. It is the simplest of all urodynamic assessment. It resembles a natural urodynamic study. It shows the voiding patterns and severity of symptoms, useful for identifying the pathophysiology of renal origin like abnormal production of urine related to circadian rhythm. There are different voiding diaries like a micturition chart, frequency volume chart, and bladder diary. The micturition time chart records only the time that the patient voids. There is no volume recording in micturition chart. Whereas in frequency volume chart records time and volume of micturition. Whereas in bladder diary, it records the time, volume of each fluid intake, pad usage, incontinence episodes, and voiding. This is an example of a bladder diary. Here we can see that the patient has to record the time and volume of events like intake, voiding, incontinence episodes, etc. The recording should be done at least for 24 hours. Usually we have to record for 3 to 7 days. This is a picture of water-filled cystometry, simple cystometry. It involves insertion of catheter into an emptied bladder through urethra. One catheter transfers liquid and the other one records the pressure. The height above the pubic symphysis of the fluid indicates the intravesical pressure. This is a picture of cystometrogram with transducers. This is a urodynamic machine which assesses the cystometry, urethral pressure, flowmetry, surface EMG, etc. This is on the left side of the left picture, and on the lower side we can see a flowmetry for assessing the urine flowmetry, flow meter for assessing the flowmetry. On the right upper part we can see a dual lumen intravesical catheter which measures the intravesical pressure, and on right bottom level we can see a rectal catheter for measuring the abdominal pressure. 3 measurements are important in urodynamics. One is pressure of detrusor pressure, vesical pressure, and abdominal pressure. Abdominal pressure can be assessed by inserting a rectal catheter, and vesical pressure can be measured using a catheter introduced into the bladder. And detrusor pressure is obtained by subtracting abdominal pressure from detrusor pressure. This is a normal CMG. Right picture shows a normal CMG which shows the phases of voiding. At the start of the study, urine volume should be 0 ml. On filling, the bladder detrusor pressure should remain below 10 cm of water in normal persons. Normally, the curve will be smooth, and when the bladder attains almost a maximum capacity level, the pressure will increases and there will be voiding, and after voiding the pressure returns back to normal. This is a picture of normal cystometrogram. We can see that there are instances of increased abdominal pressure and vesical pressure, that is blue and red. This is due to cough. We can see that the detrusor pressure is remaining low, so it's marked as green. It should be below 10 cm of water. When the volume reaches 519 ml, the detrusor pressure rises to 54 cm of water and voiding occurs. There is no change in abdominal pressure. We can see also that the first sensation is recorded at 172 ml. It is normal. Now we can see that the EMG is added to the cystometry. Here we can see the volume of the fluid increases. As the volume of the fluid increases, there is no increase in the vesical pressure and abdominal pressure. The detrusor pressure remains below 10 centimeter of water, and we can see that the external sphincter is contracting, and so there will be no urine leakage. These are the three types of detrusor sphincter dyssynergia. In the first one, we can see that type 1 DST, we can see that there is recruitment seen in the EMG during voiding contractions only, but in after some time this recruitment subsides and voiding occurs in the second part. In type 2, there is intermittent recruitment, and there is intermittent recruitment throughout voiding, and in type 3 there is a crescendo decrescendo firing with no appreciable voided volume. So type 2 and type 3. Type 3 there is a crescendo decrescendo firing, and in type 2 we can see intermittent recruitment throughout. Now moving to another graph which shows reduced compliance and increased detrusor. Here the total volume of infused volume of normal saline is 230 ml. We can see that the abdominal pressure remains normal, which is marked as green. The vesical pressure and detrusor pressure rises to about 100 centimeter of water by about 200 ml of infusion. Now we can see elevated compliance with an econtractile bladder. Here the bladder volume is actually has reached 800 ml with minimal changes in vesical pressure. The patient is asked to void, but no detrusor contraction or sphincteric activity is seen. This is usually seen in sacral level lesion. Now moving to urethral pressure profile. This is used for measuring the urethral pressure. The technique as such is not satisfactory, so it is not widely used. This is performed by withdrawing the measuring catheter mechanically at a constant speed after cystometry. The resulting profile indicates that the pressure within the urethra from the bladder neck to the meatus. Several techniques are there: resting urethral pressure profile, stress urethral pressure profile, voiding urethral pressure profile, etc. This is a picture shows X-ray KUB, that is X-ray kidney ureter bladder. This is used to assess any causes of abdominal pain. It usually detects calculi. The picture shows a single stone on right side at the level of third lumbar vertebrae and two stones overlying the sacrum. This is intravenous pyelogram. It is a radiological procedure used to visualize abnormalities of urinary system like in kidneys, ureter and bladder. Uses the contrast material to highlight the urinary tract. Indications are renal calculi, enlarged prostate, tumors, scarring, congenital abnormalities, etc. Then moving to cystoscopy, we can detect intravesical or intraurethral pathology. Here we are actually directly visualizing the bladder and urethra. The indications are hematuria, UTI, overactive bladder, benign prostatic hypertrophy, growth. Now moving to CT scan, it detects upper and lower tract abnormalities, stones, tumors, etc. can be diagnosed. It's a picture. Left side picture shows distended thick wall bladder with pseudo diverticula in the upper half, looking vaguely like a Christmas tree with bilateral hydronephrosis and hydroureter due to back pressure and incomplete emptying. Last one, MRI. MRI shows elongated trabeculated urinary bladder, and left side there is hydroureter, and there is an undescended left testicle in the groin. So anatomical or structural abnormalities can be clearly seen by CT or MRI. So with this ends the class on investigations for lower urinary tract dysfunctions in patients with spinal cord injuries. Next class will be on surgeries for bladder dysfunctions in neurogenic bladder. Thank you.